What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal. Let's waste no time, let's get into it. So, the overall story of this film is as follows. A fictionalized version of Nicolas Cage is creatively unfulfilled and is facing financial ruin. So, as a way to get out of his jam, he accepts a $1 million offer to attend a birthday party of a dangerous superfan played by Pedro Pascal. Things take an unexpected turn when Cage is recruited by two CIA agents played by Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz, and he must now use his legendary acting skills, channeling his most iconic and beloved characters to become a real-life action hero. So basically, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, you can almost say is kind of like never mind. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is one of my favorite movies of 2022. When I saw this movie when it first came out, I enjoyed it. When I watched it on a second, I think I enjoyed it even more. This movie is a lot of fun. It's just, to me, this movie is just a good time, a feel-good movie. It's not crammed with any political garbage. It's not crammed with any, activist ideas or any of that bullshit itself. It just pays loving tribute to Nicolas Cage and his 40-year career. And whether you are a fan of Nicolas Cage or not a fan of Nicolas Cage, you gotta give the man his due. He always marched to the beat of his own drum, and he did the things he wanted to do, and he never viewed acting as a career. He viewed it as just work to support himself and his family. And The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, to me, does a really good job at showing a fictionalized version of Nick Cage by taking elements of the real-life Nick Cage and pretty much telling its own story. I think Nicolas Cage, as playing the fictionalized version of himself, was absolutely fantastic. He was a lot of fun in this movie. Seeing his struggles and just seeing how he always viewed acting as work and not a career, and how he always chose this over his family and it caused dissension to the point where his wife divorced him and his child doesn't really think much of him. And because of all this, he now can't get, any super roles because, the name of Nick Cage doesn't mean much no more. Because he never stopped working, but, the movie also, makes an allusion, makes references to the fact that Nick Cage, he just takes any movie, he just takes any movie. And, to an actor who cares about their career, who views acting as a career and care about their status, that can be harmful to your name value. Thus, this is what causes him to go into financial ruin, to the point where his agent, played by Neil Patrick Harris, played really, really well by Neil Patrick Harris, often says, hey, listen, there's this guy in Spain named Javi. He's going to give you $1 million to come to his birthday party. You should take it. At first, Cage relents. Then he eventually accepts it when he goes to his daughter's birthday party and shit hits the fan. And he comes to the realization that he's just becoming a shell of himself. So he decides to take the deal. Once he goes to Spain and meets up with Pedro Pascal's with the Javi character, this is where the movie really starts to pick up, and this is where the entertainment value just shoots through the roof. Not to say that the first 20 minutes of this movie was boring, because it wasn't. But the whole family angle, it's hit and miss. I don't really think the movie needed it. With Cage, you could have made a movie all about Cage trying to land that perfect role, and because of the decades and the fact that he chose to take more lesser roles from indies and not so much mega roles, and that kind of devalued his name value in the public eye. You could have easily built an entire movie around that without the family drama, and to me, it would have worked all the same. But yeah. He goes to Spain to meet Javi, and then he gets recruited by two CIA agents because they feel that Javi has kidnapped this little girl, has kidnapped a girl named Maria, who we see in the prologue of this movie. Watching the opening prologue of this movie is fantastic, with the kidnapped girl watching Con Air. That immediately set the tone, and I knew exactly what I was in for, and I was not disappointed all throughout. But yeah. He gets recruited by these two CIA agents to try and find this kidnapped girl because they all think that Javi is this big drug lord, when in actuality he's just a over-enthusiastic Nicolas Cage superfan who just wants to show Nicolas Cage in screenplay and act in a movie with him. And all the while, it's Javi's cousin Lucas who is the real drug lord, and he's just using Javi as a front since Javi's father was a crime lord. So yeah, that all comes together. It can be very clunky in how it comes together, but it comes together. But it makes sense enough where you understand it, and I'm okay with it. So I'm not gonna like bash the movie for it. Like it's trying to do a twist on top of a twist in a sense, but it works for the first. But it works for the most part, and you really do get this, and you really do see the genuine that Javi does have from Nick Cage. But at the same time, the movie does a good job at planting the seed that maybe this man is not who he says he is. But and like I said, both Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal do such a great job in this movie and have outstanding comedic chemistry with one another that you also buy that Javi may be this deranged drug lord, but he also genuinely is a big Nicolas Cage fan, and the friendship between the two feels genuine. Especially when you get to the end, when you find out that Javi is not this drug kingpin, and that and that he's under the thumb of his cousin and under the threat of just death. And Javi kind of has and Javi, along with Nick Cage, they both work together to try and take down his cousin, which they do in a very thrilling third act climax, which is both funny and very well done in terms of action. I love the third act in this movie. We get a chance to see Nicolas Cage go into makeup and play a Gonzo character, and then we see him go all out Castor Troy on everyone. It's a lot of fun. Like the third act of this movie is a lot of fun, but the middle section of this movie is also fun too, with the CIA helping, with Nicolas Cage being forced to help out the CIA. Now, I think Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz are actually really funny in this movie, and they have a lot of memorable lines. I think their deaths kind of come out of nowhere, to be honest, in my opinion. During the third act, they just both get shot, and Ike dies off screen and Tiffany dies on screen. It's like, I don't know. Did we really have to kill them off screen in such underwhelming ways, since they were since Cage and them were kind of like a trio? It would have been cooler if Javi would have been on it also towards the end of the movie, with all four of them trying to work together. But I get it. We wanted to keep it. We just wanted to keep it to Nick Cage and Javi. So I understand it, and I'm not fully against it, because I understand what it was trying to do in the long run, and it worked. It worked it worked. It didn't. It's not like it didn't work. It worked. But to see it. But Nicolas Cage working with the CIA, you had a lot of funny moments, like when they first abduct him in the van, and he's explaining nouveau shamanic acting as opposed to CIA spying, trying to compare the two. That scene's hilarious. Ike Barinholtz reacting to seeing Nicolas Cage in the airport is hilarious. And he has one of the funniest lines in this movie comes from Ike, where Tiffany Haddish is like, "I've seen him. He's from Croods too." And then Ike's like, "Why the fuck would I see Croods too? I'm a 44-year-old man. Why the fuck would I watch Croods too?" That shit's hilarious. A lot of the bantering and character interaction in this movie is absolutely hysterical. It's great stuff. And like I said, I can't get enough of Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal as an on-screen duo. This is the first time these two have been paired together, and you would have felt like they've been acting together in movies for a long time, because they feel genuine on screen. Now, Pedro Pascal, as a human being and as a person, he's an acquired taste in terms of his political beliefs. And yes, there was a lot of controversy to the fact that he did not stick up for Gina Carano when Disney was going through their bullshit by trying to get rid of her. Pedro stayed silent and actually went against her, which was a dick move on him. But I ain't gonna lie, in terms of his acting abilities, he was good. He's really good as the character as Javi, and I can't stress enough, he and Nick Cage have a genuine chemistry on screen. They worked so well together. One of the best scenes in this movie is the LSD scene. Just Google the LSD scene from this movie. It's absolutely hysterical. And there's this great deleted scene where they're trying to act out a part from The Rock, which should have been in this movie, because the scene was absolutely hilarious. But I like the whole thing of Javi trying to get Nick Cage to read his screenplay, and then Nick Cage was like, "I'll read the screenplay," and then it turns into the thing of Javi and Nick wanting to create their own, character-driven adult drama with an action hook of a kidnapping, and the entire movie plays out like that. And I like the whole ending about how the movie we saw was the movie that these two wrote and produced. I thought that was actually pretty fun. It was fun. I mean, you could see that coming from a mile away. I honestly think it would have been. I honestly think it would have been much more clever if the entire kidnapping and everything was just staged by Javi, not staged in a way where people are going to get killed or die or any drug thing, but as this over the top way to convince Cage that he can make the movie he wants to make, and he just convinces everybody, hey, let's play this elaborate prank on Nicolas Cage. It'll be great. And then the audience will let you believe that what we're seeing is real or not real. I think that would have been actually much more clever and pretty cool. But it is what it is. What the movie gave us was fine. So yeah, let's just try and wrap this up. So yeah, the overall main cast did a great job. The production value of this movie looks fantastic. The story is a lot of fun. The action sequences are really well done. The comedic bits, they are hilarious and they are funny. The supporting cast, very solid. Like the two actresses who played Nicolas Cage's wife and daughter, Olivia and Addie. Like I said, I don't really think the family dramatic hook was a necessary component to this film. I think it kind of brings it down a bit, and you could have still told the same story without them. But them being in it doesn't hurt the mood to the point where it makes it unwatchable. It's just an unnecessary added dramatic element that the movie didn't really need. Like Nicolas Cage just struggling with his career is more than enough, in my opinion. Him going through a divorce and his child and not being able to relate to his teenage daughter, I didn't really think was necessary. And then the daughter getting kidnapped at the end, on top of the Maria character getting kidnapped, that's just a little too much, a little too extra, making it a little bit too bloated, in my personal opinion. But as an overall package, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is a lot of fun. It is one of my favorite movies of 2022, and that's why I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. My thoughts and opinions on this movie still stand. It's still so. Just to make a quick add-on to the film, there are certain scenes in this movie where Nicolas Cage is interacting with a younger version of himself, and the look is based on his appearance from Wild at Heart. And I love the scenes of old, washed-up Nicolas Cage pretty much being lectured by his younger, more successful self. Those scenes are absolutely hilarious, and I wish the movie would have had more of them. And not only that, I also love the shrine room that Hobby created for Nicolas Cage, where it's covered in just Nicolas Cage Easter eggs, like from Con Air, Face Off, Mandy, and things like that. Like, this movie is just chock full of good stuff. But again, my grade on it still stands. Solid 8 out of 10.